Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The season known as hot labor summer is still going strong into fall. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We've seen workers across industries rally and go strike for better pay. And tonight, unionized city workers in Escondido are calling for a raise. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne joins us live from City Hall, where a demonstration is happening right now. Tanya.
That's right, Maya. We're here outside of Escondido City Hall, where unionized city workers have gathered in demonstration over growing frustration. Their union contract expired in June, and the city has rejected what they are calling a reasonable proposal for cost of living increases. Workers say the city workforce is understaffed and employees are taking on additional tasks with no increase in pay. Alex Cruz is a senior street maintenance technician who has worked for the city for over 30 years. He says this is the first time negotiations have stretched this long.
We have no direction, we have no guidance from city council. No one's able to make a decision on their own. It's just like, what are we doing here? What's going on? You know, we're no more important than police and fire. You know, we all have our position, but you know, a lot of us, the majority of us, we're the backbone. We keep each other, we're part of the pie.
And the demonstration comes as the city of Escondido faces a $10 million budget deficit over the next 5 years. In addition to the pay increase, the union says they requested the city allocate a portion of unused federal COVID relief funds towards its essential workers, all which went rejected by the city. We did reach out to the city for a statement, but have not heard back. The union, Teamsters Local 911, say this is risking the loss of over 200 Escondido essential workers, which they represent. They include administrative positions, engineering, and city maintenance, some who are on call 24/7. And now, Maya, contract negotiations are expected to pick up again next week, and we expect to bring you an update. Live in Escondido, Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
After a bit of a cloudy start, especially toward the shoreline, we will note there's going to be a little more of an offshore flow of wind as we work our way through Thursday, so perhaps some more interior valley sunshine as compared to the last couple of days. Temperature-wise, into the mid-80s around Borrego Springs, Ramona up to 80 degrees, Chula Vista 73. But we have a warming trend on tap. I'll talk about those numbers coming up a little bit later on.
San Diego Rescue Mission leaders say a recently opened homeless shelter in Oceanside is already making an impact. The Oceanside Navigation Center is a little over a month old. The 30-day shelter provides year-round services to people and families experiencing homelessness. It features 50 beds, a cafeteria, training center, and other community spaces. So far, the center has helped 45 people off of the street.
It's worked beautifully, and we're getting a chance to help a lot of people.
I was the first person in my dorm, in my bed, that ever slept there, and there was only a few of us there. But the people were great, and I felt safe.
The San Diego Rescue Mission says it hopes to have a similar navigation center open in National City early next year. Mail ballots are arriving this week for the special election to fill the District 4 seat on the County Board of Supervisors. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen explains what is at stake.
Hey San Diego, you may have heard there's a special election happening next month. Voters will be choosing a new county supervisor for District 4, which includes parts of central San Diego as well as La Mesa, Lemon Grove, and Spring Valley. County supervisors can sometimes be less well-known than, say, mayors or city council members, but their job is no less important. The supervisors approve the county budget, which is more than $8 billion, and includes programs like food stamps, Medi-Cal, and the public health department. County supervisors are also the local government for the unincorporated areas, the communities outside of city limits. The supervisors decide things like which county roads need repaving and where to plan for future growth.
Upon which I'm about to enter Okay, upon which I'm about to enter.
3 years ago, Democrats gained a majority on the Board of Supervisors for the first time in a generation. They've passed progressive reforms on issues ranging from cannabis to climate change. Then, former Supervisor Nathan Fletcher was accused of sexual harassment. He resigned, and now the board is split evenly 2-2. The election on November 7th is a runoff between San Diego City Council member Monica Montgomery Stepp and private investigator Amy Reichert. Reichert is a Republican, Montgomery Stepp is a Democrat, but you won't see their party affiliation on the ballot because officially the office is nonpartisan. You can learn more about the candidates and how to vote by going to kpbs.org/voterhub.
19 San Diego schools will be offering enriching learning opportunities as San Diego Unified and Boys and Girls Club of San Diego team up. On Tuesday, the school board approved the partnership, which means all of the district's elementary and middle schools will have on-campus after-school programs. Funding is coming from the California Department of Education's Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, which gives students a wide range of after-school activities.
We know that they've been in rigorous instruction all day long, so they need that little stretch break and a snack break. So the Boys and Girls Club will be providing them snacks and activities and choice. We also have built-in power hour where they'll be able to have the opportunity to get some of their homework done and tutoring.
Interest forms will be sent out by the district to the families, and the spots will be given on a first-come, first-served basis. This month, the COVID payment pause on student loans ended and repayments restarted. Americans owe $1.7 trillion in student loan debt, and behind every dollar is someone's story of survival and sacrifice. KPBS education reporter MG Perez has more on the price of payback.
Between the time I got these degrees and actually was able to put some of that knowledge and stuff to work, I got cancer.
73-year-old Cindy Nelson is a breast cancer survivor. She also survived more than $100,000 in student loan debt, much of it mounting interest.
I was blessed that I even had the opportunity to go to college, no matter what it took.
It took a lot, because in her late 30s, Nelson became a single mother with 2 children to support after a divorce, triggered by her coming out as a lesbian. Her truth brought her freedom and financial responsibilities. Going to college, she hoped, would eventually provide security for her family.
You gotta go to college to have the world open up to you. You'll be with people that you never imagined. You'll see diversity like you've never seen.
Grant money helped pay for a portion of her bachelor's degree in visual arts from UC San Diego, but it was federal loans that paid for a master's degree in education from San Diego State in 1997, and on to a successful job at the SDSU School of Nursing, which came with lifetime health benefits and a steady income when she needed to pay back her loans.
When times were rough, they would put me on income contingent to pay as I go, and then when things got better, I would pay more and whatever. But once I got the cancer and couldn't work, I just stopped paying them.
Cindy's story is like so many other stories of student borrowers who found themselves drowning in debt when life happened. There are millions of borrowers who are hoping for relief and loan forgiveness. Dan Riccotto is a clinical professor of finance at the University of San Diego with 20 years of investment banking experience. He says loan forgiveness has to come with reform.
Recognize that we do have to provide relief to certain borrowers who simply are never going to be able to pay this back. And at the same time, recognize that we have to tie the ribbon a little tighter between the value of a college education and how we pay for that college education.
I started paying it back right away.
Tim Barunas had to pay off $200,000 in student loans for his medical school education.
I'm fortunate in the sense that I make a physician level salary, and I was able to make those payments.
Consistent payments that included a few lump sums helped Barunas get his total down to $50,000. It did not help him find happiness practicing family medicine with 60-hour work weeks.
This is Odessa. She's 6. And this is Simon. It's an older picture, but he's 10.
Barunas left medicine for a remote job working from home as a medical procedure consultant, giving him more time to spend with his family. He also discovered a Biden administration program that gave him credit for consistent payments and his work at nonprofit hospitals, eliminating his remaining balance.
Being able to then take advantage of this program, which I was sort of intended to qualify for, I think I feel really good about having been able to take advantage of that and, not having those loans anymore.
Cindy Nelson also discovered a forgiveness plan based on her limited income and repayment history, and she is now student loan debt-free and cancer-free.
When I lost everything, it was tough. But I made it through.
And the finance expert Dan Riccotto says there is hope for anyone who wants it.
It's become a center stage issue. And that's important. It's no longer sort of this fringe issue that, the guys in the Ivy Towers on campus will figure out.
MG Perez, KPBS News.
Dan Riccotto suggests the best first step for anyone feeling overwhelmed about student loan payments is go to studentaid.gov. The death toll of Americans in Israel has risen to 22, and the State Department expects that number to climb. At least 2,200 people have been killed on both sides of the Israel-Hamas war. As the world watches the escalating violence, health experts say it can cause a heightened sense of stress and anxiety, especially among children. Mandy Gaither has more with a therapist on how to talk to kids about what's happening and how to bring them comfort.
Images are scary and heartbreaking. As violence continues in Israel and Gaza, it can all feel overwhelming.
You might have personal connections to it. You might be experiencing some triggers from something from your past. And so it's really important to just be aware of what you're feeling and then let go of any shame or judgment around that.
Licensed therapist Jody Baumstein says for young children who haven't been exposed to accounts of the violence, there's no need to talk to them about it. But for older kids who have heard about or seen violent things, she says to be proactive. Don't wait for them to come to you. Talk to them. It's okay to not have answers to their questions.
Really, that's not what they need. Kids don't need a script. They need you to be in it with them and let them know they're not alone in it.
Baumstein says to let them guide the conversation based on what's on their minds. Then listen and offer ways to cope.
How to kind of check their thoughts and see if it's accurate and it's helpful. And you're teaching them strategies to regulate. So if they're feeling overwhelmed, there are things that they can do to calm their body and calm their mind.
If it all feels too overwhelming, take a break from the exposure to the violence. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
California has a new tool to help find missing black youth. Since Amber Alerts were introduced 2 decades ago, more than 370 children and at-risk individuals have been found. But critics say African Americans are often overlooked by the notification system. State Senator Stephen Bradford says that is because missing black individuals are often listed as runaways. He authored a new law creating Ebony Alerts, which aims to address the racial disparity.
African American young individuals make up almost 40% of those individuals who come up missing.
With this, the attention, the need, the urgency, I feel will be met, and it's going to be a game changer.
Ebony Alerts can use technology like roadside signs and electronic notifications like Amber Alerts, but Ebony Alerts raises the age from 17 years or younger to 25 and younger. It is National Coming Out Day. KPBS reporter Katie Heisen spoke with District 5 Council member Marnie von Wilpert, who came out as a member of the LGBTQ+ community this summer.
You're hoping to have maybe private, quiet conversations with folks. Instead, I came out in the New York Times.
A reporter interviewed von Wilpert after anti-LGBTQ+ protesters checked out all the books from a Pride Month display in a library in her district.
When the reporter asked me, are you a member of the LGBTQ community? I don't want to hide it.
Von Wilpert says the article prompted tough conversations with conservative family members who were supportive in the end. But that's not the case for everyone. Many homeless youth in San Diego are LGBTQ+ children who were evicted by their families. Von Wilpert says she's pushing to open another shelter just for them. Even while she celebrates being out, she says she's watching gay rights be taken back. This summer alone, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that businesses can refuse some services to LGBTQ plus people. Grossmont Union School District ended a contract with a suicide prevention nonprofit that also assists LGBTQ plus youth. And the Temecula Board of Education tried to remove Harvey Milk, a gay civil rights leader and politician, from its curriculum.
I'm not sure what my future looks like sometimes in this country, which is something I never thought I'd say.
Even still, she says, coming out was worth it.
It's less isolating to be able to come out and to be free. And as someone who is a very public figure, it's a lot easier to just be who I am.
To everyone else who came out this year or will come out today, she says, congratulations. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
San Diego's goal of net zero greenhouse gas emissions depends largely on phasing out the use of natural gas. But KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says a recent court decision has put that goal in jeopardy.
Natural gas in furnaces, stoves, or water heaters accounts for 21% of local carbon emissions. San Diego had hoped to update its building code to require all new buildings be fully electric. But last spring, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals found a similar gas ban in Berkeley was illegal under federal law.
Building decarbonization, specifically of existing buildings, has huge potential for emissions reductions.
Serena Pelka is a policy advocate for the nonprofit Climate Action Campaign, which authored a report on how to move forward with building electrification in light of the court ruling. She says San Diego can still offer stronger incentives for all-electric buildings, and other government agencies can take action to support the city's climate goals. For example, the San Diego County Air Pollution Control District has the power to regulate sources of indoor air pollution.
So what this does is really approach building electrification from an air quality standpoint and from those public health benefits that come from when we're reducing what we call NOx, so zero NOx appliances. And the only way to get there is if it's one that's all electric. We can't have a zero emission appliance if it's burning fossil fuels or burning methane gas.
Transportation is still the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in San Diego. Considering the new limits on regulating natural gas, Pelka says, it's even more important to wean the city off of cars by making it easier to bike, walk, or take public transit. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
It's been a breezy day, especially over the interior valleys, towards some of the slopes and into the mountainous terrain. But the wind will gradually start to lessen later on tonight. Meanwhile, we'll also note a little bit less in the way of morning cloudiness on Thursday, with a bit of an offshore flow that's pertaining more so just away from the coast. The marine layer does deepen again on Friday, so more of those clouds rolling back in. But at the same time, we have a warming trend coming up later on this weekend. In the short term here, still for a little bit while longer, we do have some wind advisories out for many of the same spots that I was talking about yesterday, say around Borrego Springs and Julian, also toward Pine Valley. It's been those west to southwesterly winds that have been quite gusty. So if you're traveling north to south here, do beware of some of those crosswinds in place. Temperatures for tonight dropping down into the 40s around Ramona and Mount Laguna, matching 48s. Oceanside 55, Borrego Springs down to 57. And as you can see here with Futurecast, notice the clouds, but not as many as we've seen the last couple of days. And where we do see the clouds at the coast, it's not going to be quite as lengthy a time that we'll experience those. As we get back to the forecast for tomorrow, we're back in the mid-80s toward Borrego Springs, but we're going to be talking about those 90s making a return here down the road. First off the coast, extended forecast, there's that warming trend coming up as we work our way from Saturday into Sunday, back up to 80 degrees, more pronounced warming over the interior valleys as we talk about ample sunshine here Sunday and Monday. We'll be close to 90 degrees. We'll also experience a warming trend over the mountainous terrain as we climb back in the 60s Sunday into Monday, and as I mentioned here toward the deserts, mid-90s Sunday and Monday afternoon. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Pavic.
The Human Milk Institute was founded a year ago at UC San Diego with the goal of fully understanding breast milk and what it means to human health. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge tells us about the Institute's new executive director and the field of study they call lactology.
The Human Milk Institute is one of a kind. That's what its founding director tells us. No other institute at a university is focused on understanding the science of breast milk and the role it plays in our lives. Pediatrics professor and founder Lars Boda says he doesn't know why no other institute has the same dedication.
There is no all-encompassing, harmonizing institute that takes all aspects of human milk, from molecular biology all the way to public health, social sciences, politics. I mean, there's a lot of space to cover here.
Boda, like me, was nursed using infant formula. Baby formula has the calories and nutrition that allow a baby to grow, but it lacks all of the bioactive molecules that exist in breast milk, and they do make a difference. Boda says babies nursed on mother's milk are less likely to get infectious diseases. In developing nations with a higher burden of pathogens, not nursing on mother's milk can have serious consequences.
This could be a question of life and death. So if you don't receive human milk, with all those bioactive components in it that protect you from disease, then you might have a higher chance of dying from infectious diseases.
But it's still not well known just what those protective elements in breast milk do.
There isn't enough research to evaluate the distinctions between children who are breastfed versus children who are given formula. And I would love to be a part of the research that answers these types of questions.
Mitra Hushman was just hired as the executive director of UCSD's Human Milk Institute. Her scientific background is in neuroscience. She founded her own business, a yoga studio, and campaigned to pass Prop 14 in 2020. Which provided $5.5 billion for stem cell research. When it comes to breastfeeding, well, she's a mom and she's done it.
I spent almost the entire time breastfeeding reading about breastfeeding and breast milk. I clearly remember that I would have a phone in my hand, and as I was breastfeeding, I was reading, what time of the day is the right time to breastfeed?
Hushman's goal and that of the Institute is to grow into a place that's focused on research that is also engaged with the community. Boda adds the Institute should be a place that creates new connections with other San Diego scientists who can study breastfeeding.
We have great people here that work on all different disciplines, experts here in San Diego that can do really miraculous things. But how do you connect all these people, all these different expertises to collectively work in one direction?
For a lot of women, breastfeeding is not easy. It can be quite painful at first, and many women wonder whether their baby is getting enough. Boda says the healthcare system needs to normalize breastfeeding by providing adequate support during pregnancy and lactation, and that is also part of the Institute's mission. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
The San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance is joining a worldwide effort to preserve species diversity. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says the institution is focusing energy on storing genetic material from critical species.
The black-footed ferret clone is in here.
Marlis Hauk is curator of the Frozen Zoo.
So each of these boxes holds 100 vials. And I'll just pull out one box.
The super-cooled stainless steel tanks preserve cells from more than 10,000 animals, easily eclipsing the number of live animals living at the zoo and safari park. It was one frozen sample of a Przewalski's horse that led to the cloning of Kurt. Scientists hope that wild horse will reintroduce much-needed genetic diversity to the endangered population.
It's huge because it shows that the technology works, that we can actually recreate animals from the frozen zoo. So the cells in the frozen zoo, that's what the purpose is to maintain genetic diversity.
The animal samples and a growing collection of seeds and frozen plants are part of the new Center for Species Survival, Biodiversity Banking in San Diego. The International Union for the Conservation of Nature says these efforts have an important role to play, and actions need to be coordinated and strategic.
Whether we're talking about saving species through cryopreservation and biobanking, managing populations that are living in human care, or out in the field working in situ, we all need to be working together. whether we're a government, an NGO, a zoo, aquarium or botanic garden expert, or a scientist out there on the ground in the field.
The group says the rate of extinction is alarming, claiming nearly 3 species an hour. The San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance's Paul Barabalt says the partnership with the international group is special.
We talk a lot about conservation at its heart, starting with people. And it has to start with people so that it can grow, build alliances, build partnerships around the globe so we can achieve more together.
The Alliance's Frozen Zoo is the largest and most diverse collection of its kind. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, food and basic supplies dwindle in Gaza as Israel bombards Hamas targets. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. The U.S. House of Representatives is still trying to decide on a new speaker. NPR's Morning Edition will have an update from Washington. And KPBS arts producer Julia Dixon-Evans will join Midday Edition to tell us about some of the events happening around San Diego this weekend. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.